Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Welcome if it's your first time here. So I'm in the mood to film a reading, but I'm not exactly sure what the topic should be. I just feel called to film a reading. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to I already pulled 3 tarot cards, and we're just going to let the story unfold, like however it wants to unfold. And I'm setting the intention that there will be a lesson within the story. So maybe we'll call this like tarot therapy. Maybe, I'm not sure. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this. So the first card pulled is the High Priestess card. So I'm reading that as the past. The second card pulled is the Nine of Wands. I'm reading that as the present. And then the Ace of Pentacles, I'm reading as the future position. Okay, so with the High Priestess card being here in the past, I feel like the story starts with someone who is an extremely sensitive person. Highly sensitive and very connected to the higher realms. So someone who gets a lot of like intuitive downloads, someone who, even if they don't recognize it as like intuitive downloads, like maybe they don't know the exact name for it, they just have this gift within them where they can really, really see through people, and they just have like this depth of knowledge when it comes to people's emotions. So yeah, this is like a empathic person. Again, someone who's highly sensitive, who is really connected to, the higher realms, connected to the spiritual realms, and who more than likely has like a very important, purpose that they're supposed to use their sensitivity for. Now, I will also say that this is a person who can really, really see through see through to people's shadow sides. Like, they're able to see the greatness in people. Like, they're able to really see the inner child in people. They're able to see the higher self of people, even when that person isn't showing up in the best way, which can somewhat get them in trouble. And I feel like that's exactly how this story is going to take a turn, because it's like, this is someone who, and again, when I'm telling this story, you could put yourself in the story. Like, this could relate to you, or you could just learn a lesson from it. But yeah, because of the fact that this person sees the good in people, sees the person's inner child, see the person's higher self, they also have a tendency to kind of stay in situations too long, overgive to people who really don't deserve it, and they can have a tendency to self-sacrifice, like sacrificing themselves in order to help the other person because they see the potential in the other person, or they see the pain in the other person, right? So that can go very left, and it usually does for highly sensitive people who don't have strong boundaries, who can see that inner child in people. They're giving to the person as if they're giving to a child. Like, they're sacrificing as if they're sacrificing for a child. They're loving unconditionally as if they're loving a child. But this person isn't a child. This is a person who's a grown adult who is doing harm to you, and then, you turn around and still abandon yourself for them or overgive to them because you see that inner child. And I'm saying you, but again, if this doesn't apply to you, then you could just look at it as like a character and you're learning from them. But I'm going to say you from here forward because it just feels more natural. So yeah, you are the type of person who sees the person's inner child and overgives because of that. Now, you do have an opposite extreme of also seeing the darkness in a person. Like, you can really call a person out on their, like, the dark, what would the word be? Traits, defense mechanisms, coping mechanisms. It's like things within them that cause harm to other people due to their own hurt, due to their own trauma. You are able to call that out immediately. Like, if the person is gaslighting, you're able to see that and call that out. If the person being manipulative, you can see that and call that out. If that person is causing harm to other people, even if it's in a covert way, you see it and you call it out. And I feel like covert abusers or covertly toxic people really, really hate this about you. Sincerely hate this about you. Like, the energy that I'm picking up from that is like they despise you for it. Because their defense mechanisms are protecting a very vulnerable part of themselves. It's interesting because it's like you are able to see that vulnerable part of them, right? Like you're able to see that wounded inner child of theirs, and then they have a defense mechanism on top of it to protect their inner child. So it's like they're doing all this harmful, toxic shit, excuse my language, and it's like you're going to call it out. Like, yes, I can see the inner child in you, and I'm trying to help the inner child in you, but what I'm also not going to do is allow you to just do all this harmful things just because, I see the inner child in you. So you're able to really see things through it. And it's like that a person like that can't stand it because their defense mechanisms are protecting their inner child. And here you come pointing out their defense mechanisms that are harmful. So without their defense mechanisms, they feel like they're exposed. They feel like their inner child is exposed. And so it's like they're blaming you for their inner child being exposed when really you're just like they're blaming you for their inner child not being protected by their defense mechanisms when really you're just calling out that they're being abusive. Like, for example, let's say that there's someone who, when they were a child, they were blamed for everything unfairly. Like they had like a very toxic household that they were constantly shamed and blamed for everything unfairly, right? So you see in them that hurt inner child that just wants to be believed and that just wants to be loved. And so you give and give and give to them, right? But their defense mechanism that they developed is that because they were always blamed for something as a child and they weren't giving any love or validation, they have developed this defense mechanism where they always play the victim. No matter what they do, even if they're doing something extremely harmful to someone else, if you call them out on it, they'll immediately be like, I didn't do that. No, I didn't. That's not me. That's not my fault. They'll immediately start deflecting because they still have that extremely wounded inner child that is still trying to shield themselves from constantly being blamed for things. So now we have an adult who is being blamed for something that they genuinely did do wrong. But because their inner child is so wounded, they have this defense mechanism where they just deflect. You see what I'm saying? So it's like you can love their inner child and try to help them and, nurture their inner child. But you're not going to sit there and allow them to just deflect and use all these harmful, toxic defense mechanisms. So you call them out like, hey, every time I call you out on something or every time I hold you accountable for something, you always play victim. Stop doing that. So now you've exposed their defense mechanism in a way that maybe other people haven't, in a way that other people haven't clearly articulated. And now their inner child feels exposed. Now they feel like that same child that was being blamed for something, except now they're an adult who actually did do something wrong. That's why these defense mechanisms are toxic, because it distorts reality. So they actually are an adult who did something wrong, but they're perceiving it as they're now back to being that child that is being blamed for something that they didn't do wrong. So they hate you. They start to hate you. Like they develop a hatred because they're literally blaming you for a trauma that you didn't cause. All you did was shine a spotlight on them being toxic, them being abusive, them being manipulative. And by the way, you can expose this to someone in a way that is extremely loving and caring, and they will still hate you for it because, again, they feel wounded by their defense mechanism being taken away. But in reality, if they were to find a way to, seek help for their trauma, they would no longer need these defense mechanisms, and maybe they will be able to maintain a healthy connection. But until then, they just project onto you and make you the enemy of the story. So I feel like that's a lot. But yeah, that's all that I'm reading for that card for the past. So let's move on to the present moment. I'm not surprised to see that in the present, we move on to the Nine of Wands. The Nine of Wands is a card that talks about someone who has been through like a battle. They've been through a war. This is like the PTSD traumatized card. Like they've been through a lot. And I feel like that's where you could be in the present moment, where your sensitivity or your like you being so compassionate toward other people to the point of self-abandonment could have resulted in a lot of pain and trauma for you. And again, that's not to say that that's even your fault. Like it's always going to be the fault of the abuser. So let's make that very clear. I'm not trying to say like, oh, because of you being so sensitive, that's why you deserve to be traumatized. You should have had better boundaries. No, like we're going to put the accountability and the blame where it belongs. But I do feel like you are in a state now where you are kind of reflecting back on what took place, and you're thinking like, okay, I know that the accountability and the blame is on the abusers and not me, but I still want to look back and figure out where I went wrong so that I don't repeat this, so that I don't allow these types of people into my life anymore, which I think is very admirable, because it's like a mature way of looking at it. It's like a emotionally mature way of being like, okay, I'm going to put the blame where it belongs. I'm not going to victim blame and shame myself, but I also am going to reflect on areas of my life that I can improve so that people like this won't be able to get back in, or people like this won't be able to cause harm in my life, or I'll be able to leave earlier at the side of red flags, or I won't abandon myself just because I see that someone else is hurting. You know what I mean? It's like self-reflection without blame. And if you're not there, this card is telling you that you're needing to get there, because for you, for some of you, I'm sensing that you're not there because you're putting all the blame on yourself. And when you put all the blame on yourself and shame yourself, it's going to be very hard for you to reflect and to grow and evolve and, basically start a new chapter of your life where you are able to actually be happy and be at peace. Like, you're needing to put the blame where it belongs. And you can still analyze like what part you played in it, in terms of like maybe having poor boundaries and things like that, without shaming yourself and blaming yourself. So you're being asked to take those steps towards removing the shame and the blame if you're not there already. But I feel like for most of you, you're there. Like, you're like, okay, the blame is where it belongs. It's time for me to reflect so that this never happens again. Again, which is very admirable, and which definitely is a strength. I just feel like for the most part, where things went wrong in the past was not having strong enough boundaries. Because basically when you have boundaries, it puts a separation between who you are and who the person is. When you don't have boundaries, you see it all as like swirled into one. So it's like it's almost like you don't feel like you're abandoning yourself when you're pouring your all into this person, because you see this person as you when you don't have boundaries. Does that make sense? It's like, for example, let's say that you have abandonment wounds because you've been abandoned all your life, or you've been abandoned in the past by people you love. So when you don't have boundaries, you start to see this other person as someone who doesn't deserve to be abandoned, because in your mind, it's like you were abandoned when you were a child or when you were vulnerable, right? And it hurt you so badly. So it's like when you don't have boundaries and you become attached to someone, you project those same abandonment wounds onto them, and you're like, okay, I can't abandon them because they're going to feel how I felt as a child. You see what I'm saying? It's like that lack of boundaries will cause you to almost take on that person as a part of yourself, and you'll start to self-abandon without realizing it, because you see them as a part of yourself. So you're just like giving them what you wish you would have gotten, but you're not seeing that this is a whole different person from you. You know what I'm saying? Like, this person does not have the same heart as you. This person does not operate the same as you. Like, this could be like a sneaky, slimy, grimy snake in your life that's doing crazy things to you, and like to your face and behind your back. But because of the lack of boundaries, it's like you see them as you see yourself. Or like I said before, you see the inner child in them. You see the potential in them. And so you don't want to be the one to abandon them. When you put the boundaries up, you're able to say, okay, I'm me and they're them. I didn't deserve to be abandoned as a child. I was a vulnerable, helpless child. Or I didn't deserve to be abandoned by, that ex-narcissist that I had. That was abuse. That's me. Now, because I have a boundary, I know that I'm separate from this other person. This other person is not me. This other person is not a child who's being abandoned. This other person is not being abandoned by a narcissist the way that I was. This is a person who I'm about to hold accountable and walk away from. Those are two different, completely different scenarios. You see what I'm saying? When you put a boundary up, you can see clearly who they are versus who you are. And so you can make the correct choices. You can then act accordingly. You see what I'm saying? Because just to repeat that, you could see them as this helpless child because you remember when you were a helpless child and you were abandoned. So they're doing terrible shit to you, and you're like, no, I'm not going to abandon them because they're, I see the helpless child in them. But when you put the boundary up, you're like, wait a minute. That's not a helpless child. I'm projecting my own inner child onto them. That's a predator, and I need to get away from them. And you no longer feel that guilt of abandoning them. So that's why boundaries are important. It's like you are separated from the person. Like, you can have a sense of self to where you can then protect yourself from this type of person without the guilt weighing you down. And that's why it's so disturbing to me. Wow, it's starting to rain really hard outside, if y'all can hear that in the background. But that's why it's really disturbing to me, parents who have no respect for their children's boundaries, because it teaches a child to have no boundaries. And then when they become adults, this is the result of not having boundaries. Predators being able to slip their way into your life, and you not having the tools to be able to set that boundary and separate yourself. So I feel like that's what you could be working on, or being advised to work on, is to have very strong, very clear boundaries. So yeah, and I do feel like you should reward yourself and praise yourself, or would praise be the correct word? Yeah, I guess so. You should congratulate yourself on the fact that you're even having these realizations and you're actually working on setting those boundaries, because that's an amazing feat. I mean, there are some people who, we're not going to judge them or shame them for it, but there are some people who never develop boundaries. Like, they're literally in their 60s and 70s, and unfortunately, throughout life, they've just been taken advantage of by one toxic person after another, because they never had the ability to kind of see that the boundaries were the issue. And again, we're not judging them or speaking harshly about them. They just, weren't exposed to the type of information that we have, maybe, where we can self-reflect and we can, make these changes. And that's why I thank God for the internet, even though it can be so toxic sometimes. The other opposite extreme of that is that it can be so helpful with these things. So yeah, you should definitely be proud of yourself, and also thankful to any information that you come across that helps you to see yourself clearly and helps you to grow and evolve, and thankful to yourself as well for actually taking the steps, because there are people who come across information and knowledge online and don't apply it. So you should be thankful and congratulatory towards yourself for actually applying it and doing the work to grow and evolve. So in terms of the future, I'd love to see this Ace of Pentacles card, because this means that in the near future, you are getting a fresh start. And I love when it's the Ace of Pentacles, because it's a stable, fresh start. It's like a fresh start for your stability. It's not a fresh start that's going to be built on something fleeting. It's not a fresh start that's going to be built on like a fantasy. This is like a real life fresh start. This is like a fresh start where someone comes and offers you a new job opportunity that has like significantly more money than you've ever made. This is a opportunity, or this is a card that talks about like a new housing opportunity that opens up for you. Just something that you're being gifted that is going to help you to build stability in your life. So if you're someone who has lost a lot and lost your stability due to overgiving to people, due to people slipping into your life and betraying you and taking you through all of this abuse and everything else, taking advantage of your sensitivity and things of that sort. It's like if you lost a lot due to those circumstances, you're about to gain everything back, except this time you're going to keep it long term. This time it's going to be stable, and you're going to, like I said, be able to hold on to it long term, and you're going to be able to build on it. So if you have been in a position where you're like, man, like I need a change in my life, and like I've been through so much, I just need that stability again, or I just need a fresh start, I feel like that is on its way to you. Definitely with the Ace of Pentacles card. I got extremely excited when I saw this card come out. And it's going to come to you in the form of like less struggle is what I'm hearing. Because before, like, I just feel like you've experienced so much struggle in your life that this next chapter of ease is going to feel so bizarre to you, but you deserve it. You've always deserved to have this stability in your life that also comes with comfort. I feel like for some of you, stability might actually scare you, because again, you could have been through just a lot of chaos in your life. And then on top of that, like, when somebody did offer you any type of help, it always came with conditions. It always came with like a price that you're paying for it. Even when it's like family, like for example, you could have had times where you've had to stay with family members to help you get on your feet. And there was always a price that you had to pay. Like maybe the family members were just not good to you emotionally, but they'll put a roof over your head. Or maybe, there's been friends who have offered you help, but they turned that help into like some sort of like debt, and kind of like shamed you or held it over your head that they helped you and things of that sort. It's like, it's a bunch of different scenarios that could take place. But I feel like because you are someone who is a grateful person, you're someone who, like, when you do get help, you are grateful for it, despite the backlash that you might get or what you might have to pay in return for it. You still have like this humility to you, and you still have this gratitude to you, to where now it's like you're being offered something stable that's not going to come with a price, and that is going to come with ease for the first time, because again, that is what you deserve. You know what I mean? I'm trying to see what else is coming through here. Yeah, that scenario that I just named about like the family and friends, that could be like a specific scenario that some of you needed to hear about, because I'm trying to figure out the best way to describe what I'm hearing. It's like, when I say that people like help you and then hang it over your head or like beat you over the head with it, I feel like that's something specific that a lot of you could have experienced. And that's why when good things start to come into your life, you're skeptical of it, because you're like, what's the catch? You know what I mean? Like, for a lot of you, you've never received help that didn't come with strings attached, you know? So yeah, it's like you're about to receive this blessing or this gift of like a new opportunity for stability, and I feel like it's going to come without the strings attached. It's going to come with ease, and it's going to come with this new era of your life of, I just hear ease and softness. So yeah, that's what I'm seeing for you. Yeah, I feel really good about that card. I got thrown off a little bit because that example that I just gave, I feel like it was specific for someone, and it was like it was coming through so strongly, and I was trying to figure out how to like add that into this message, but I hope it integrated well. But yeah, a soft era of your life is definitely coming in, soft and stable at the same time, which I feel like for a lot of you also, you don't feel like that's possible, but you're about to find out otherwise, because stability for you, like I said, could have been you depending on other people and there being strings attached to it, them holding over your head. Kind of like parents. Like if you have parents who would constantly remind you that they fed you and they clothed you, and it's like, okay, that's what you were supposed to do. Or like a friend who comes to your life, like, okay, I'll help you, and then later on it's like they'll throw it in your face that they helped you with it. You know what I mean? Whenever they're upset or whenever they don't get their way, it's like they'll throw it in their face that they helped you at some point. Like things like that. Or stability could also mean the opposite. It could mean like hyper independence, where you feel like the only way to be stable is to be working yourself to the bone to make sure that you never have to depend on someone, and you're so overly stressed out about it. So stability could mean to you like just pain and suffering, in order to keep your head above water. So it's like, yeah, it could show up as different things, but I feel like your definition of what stability is about to be rewritten, because you're about to enter a phase where it's going to be stable and comfortable, stable and soft, stable and with ease is what I'm seeing. And again, this is something that you deserve, and you might feel tempted to sabotage it at first because you're not used to it. But this is something that you're being asked to be mindful not to sabotage and to lean into it instead, because you are deserving of it. So that is it for that message. We're going to continue this message in the extended. We're going to continue this message in the extended reading. Thank you guys so much for watching. In the extended, we're going to look more at this opportunity that's headed your way, and hopefully some guidance when it comes to being able to accept it and, not reject it just because it goes against what you're used to, So we're going to look at how to not sabotage this opportunity and more information about what this opportunity is. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Let me see if there's anything else. I think that's it. Yeah, and also my personal readings are open, so I'll leave the link to that down below. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys over in the extended.